Today on the podcast, I've got Instagram expert and friend Stacey on the phone to talk to us all about Instagram. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Well, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 86 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I sincerely appreciate you making me one of them. If you're a first-time listener, then hey, super welcome to you. I'm really happy that you've landed here with me. My name is Jen Donovan. I'm the host of the podcast, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and just about everywhere else that I hang out to make your business life simpler. I'm a thought leader when it comes to marketing here in Australia and a marketing strategist for small businesses. Why, you might ask? Well, because I know that business can be lonely and hard and complicated. And look, it's rarely easy, but it definitely should be simple, or at least simpler. So that is my commitment to you on the so-named Small Business Made Simple podcast. One way I can make your business life a little bit simpler is if you come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners group on Facebook. If you're not already a member, then it's a really great group to hang out on with like-minded people just like you who are in small business and enjoying the ups and downs of the journey of business. You can just go to Facebook and type in the search bar Like-Minded Business Owners, or of course you can come to the show notes and get the link there. The show notes are at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/86. This episode is actually sponsored by my 30-day social media and marketing challenge. There's one going on at the moment, but we do have a new one starting in September. If you are ready to up your marketing game and would like that daily accountability, support from a really great community, lots and tips and tricks to really get your marketing and social media up, going and, at its absolute best coming into what will be, hopefully, a silly season in all the right ways, then maybe this challenge might be for you. You can go on the waitlist at bit.ly/Jen's waitlist. So bit.ly/Jen's waitlist. The next one starts on the 1st of October. So maybe challenge yourself and invest in yourself and come along and do our 30-day social media and marketing challenge. As I said at the start, I have my friend Stacey on today. She's been described as the jam to my cream scones. She's an Instagram expert, and I am really excited to share her with you, my audience. When Instagram's totally driving me insane, Stacey's my go-to person. Her love for Instagram is equal to my love of LinkedIn. In fact, I was just on her podcast the other week talking all about LinkedIn for her and her audience. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well if you're interested to go over and listen to the Social Hub AU, which is Stacey's podcast that she actually has as well. I love talking to Stacey about Instagram and really marketing collectively because we think the same. We both have an abundance mindset, which is really important when you are in similar spaces out there, but we also both believe there is no silver bullet to success on social media. I know, it's really disappointing, isn't it? But there is no silver bullet, but we also both believe in the fact that human-to-human conversational marketing is the way to go. And it's not a silver bullet, but is definitely the pieces of gold that you need to be successful on social media. So now, before we get into the interview, I have a bit of a confession to make though. Stacey and I recorded this about 6 weeks ago. So personally, I'm super impressed that I'm that organized with my podcast. But this time it's been a little bit to my detriment because platforms change so quickly. And I know that you already know this. For sure. So, in this interview, you will hear Stacey and I discussing hashtags on Facebook and how they aren't a thing. But 6 weeks is a very long time in social land, and of course, now they are. Yep, Facebook is finally embracing the use of hashtags on their platform. Mari Smith is one of the world's leading experts when it comes to Facebook, and she actually published a blog around it, like a definitive guide to for using hashtags on Facebook in 2020. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So again, the show notes are at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/86. It might be just something that you might like to look into, and kind of, I didn't want to cut it out of the podcast because there's so much else that we talk about around hashtags. So it didn't kind of make sense to cut that piece out. But I do want you to be aware that the platforms have changed and that hashtags are making a renaissance, I guess, on Facebook. But my biggest piece of advice around this update to the use of hashtags on Facebook is to head to your search bar on Facebook and start typing in the hashtags that you would normally use on Instagram and see what actually comes up. Of course, first maybe you need to go back and check on Instagram that you are actually coming up for the hashtags that you use, so you are in the feed of the hashtag, and then have a look on Facebook and see who else is coming up for those hashtags on Facebook. You've always been able to use hashtags on Facebook. That's not the new bit, but the algorithm loving them and the algorithm wanting you to use them, that is the new thing. So you will see it build, no doubt, over the coming months. Most certainly. But I just wanted to put this little bit of extra information in there so that when you listen to our interview, you won't sort of go, aren't they a thing now? So yes, being organised sometimes when you're dealing with social media can be to the detriment of someone like myself because the platform moves so quickly. So without rambling any further, let's welcome Stacey to the podcast and learn all about Instagram. Stace, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast because we get to talk about Instagram. As my listeners know, LinkedIn is what I love the most. Instagram, well, I'm here to learn some things from you as well. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. And, you know, I am honest, I'm not a LinkedIn person. So you are that person for me. So I'm more than happy to be your Instagram girl.
Sounds beautiful. Sounds great. Stacey, for the people who don't know you on the podcast, like I know you, can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. And thanks for having me, Jen. My name's Stacey. I am a social media strategist and sales coach. My business is called The Social Hub, and I am predominantly a coach. So I really work mainly with women in their first 1 to 3 years in business. And I say that mainly because that's normally the time frame that people are still doing in that DIY phase before they're ready to outsource, and really work on getting good foundational strategies, good content marketing plans in place, and a good infrastructure set up so that when they are ready to outsource, they can hand over a really polished strategy and a really clear direction to the person that they need to outsource that to, so they can get good results from that too. I work with Facebook and Instagram. I do teach email marketing and a few other things. I also have just pivoted into teaching people how to create their own online courses, which is a real bit of a passion project. I've got a podcast, which is the Social Hub podcast, and a Facebook group, which is the Social Media 101 Society. And yeah, business-wise, that's pretty much me. Personally, I live in Tweed Heads with my husband, 2 children, my mother, and 2 cats. So we have a very full house. I'm a country girl at heart, so you'll always find me down at the beach, going camping, pretty chilled out sort of person. But I always say I'm a bit of a self-confessed party girl that never wants to grow up. So even though I'm 40, I still like to burn the candle at both ends. And I just bought myself and the kids skateboards. So they're actually going to teach me how to skateboard. So watch on the Instagram stories, because you're going to see me absolutely eat pavement.
Well, I hope I don't see you in the ER room. That's my hope.
Me too.
Oh dear. Oh dear. So Stace, tell us what's working on Instagram right now, because I've certainly noticed some huge changes on what's working in my own feed and in my clients' feed. So, what's working right now?
Yeah, Instagram, it's a funny one. Like, I always find that people either prefer Facebook or Instagram. Like, I always find they have a definite clear cut preference. And I'll honestly say a few years ago, I was hands down in the Facebook camp. But in the last, I'd say like probably definitely 18 months, I think Instagram's overtaken it for me personally. And I think it's because, well, I know for me and for all of my clients and my audience and the people that I talk to, is it's become more of a connective platform than it was before. And I think that's what people really love about it now. Whereas Facebook kind of always owned that. Like, we had Facebook groups are huge. There's that place to build your community on Facebook. Whereas Instagram has really started to do that a lot more and do it a lot better than it used to. And the people that love the platform just love the platform, and it's got a lot more diverse stuff on there now with IGTV. Stories are really diverse. There'll be monetization coming to IGTV soon. So Instagram itself has invested a lot in the platform. But as far as what's working, I would 110% say 2020 is the year for personal branding. Like, if you want to connect with people on Instagram, it's about showing up as you and really being the face behind your brand. Because, like, if you look at Facebook with Facebook groups, you can really rally a community easily with a Facebook group, right? Like, you're the leader, you're the admin, you're the person who owns it. Whereas on Instagram, there's not that feature. So if you're leading with yourself as your brand and really showing up for your audience, then that's what's really engaging and connecting people and driving results most of the time, rather than just the old-fashioned perfect looking Instagram feed that everyone's envious of.
Yeah, I never quite got the perfect Instagram feed. I guess that's a representation of the non-perfect Jen. So it just never quite worked. And I even invested on some templates from Creative Market to think, right, I've got this. I'm going to have the perfect Instagram feed and I'm going to pay for it. Nah, still couldn't bring it off, most certainly. And I love that, you have reinforced something that I talk all the time about, and that's, being the face of your brand. Like, I was just on a call yesterday with someone, and their Instagram was full of beautiful photos. They were a photographer. And it's just like, well, I actually don't know who the photographer is. So where's your face? Where's,
Exactly.
you tell me that, you use this lens and this. So where's a photo of you holding that camera? And, I get a lot of pushback. A lot of people are like, oh, they don't really want to see me, do they? And it's that realizing that human to human marketing is definitely a trend in 2020, and it's not going to go away.
Oh, and the thing is that the more connected we've become digitally, the more disconnected we are as a society in general. And that's why people want to see you online. They don't want to see a faceless brand. They want to see a brand with a face and with a mission and with values, and that has a real life behind the scenes, because we're looking to online to find those connections that we're not getting in normal life, which is why, during COVID, Facebook groups just absolutely took off. And, I've got a Facebook group, I know you do, Jen. And I noticed the engagement absolutely went through the roof when COVID happened, and it hasn't gone away since then. So, in a time where, like I said, we are so connected online, but we're also we just have so much data thrown at us. And I think we're looking for the real connection, not just a pretty picture.
Yeah, absolutely. But and in real means, you can't have the perfect feed, but you also can't have the perfect life on Instagram either. I think that, you've got to go in there a little bit warts and all to a certain extent, as long as, you're still a little bit on brand as well. But what sort of businesses should be on Instagram, now and going forward? Is it for everyone, or are there particular businesses that excel on a platform like Instagram?
Look, you know, if you'd asked me this question 18 months ago, I probably would have said hands down it was far more focused on product-based businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Instagram shopping has always been a bit bigger than Facebook shopping. I think that will change with Facebook shops once that starts to roll out more to the rest of the world, because it's mainly only in America still at the moment they're
Mm-hmm.
trialing the Facebook shops. And I think that will change. And, you know, I think that will definitely be a bit of a resurgence for product-based on Instagram when, you know, tap to purchase as well comes in. Like, I think that's going to transform, you know, e-com a little bit on that platform. But I always say, if you need an audience to connect you to, you've got something to sell and you're ready to show up for people, then Instagram will work for you. I think the caveat I would probably put on that is that, you know, if there are other platforms out there. So, you know, if your audience is more likely to be on Facebook or more likely to be on LinkedIn, then you need to do a bit of trying and testing and see what gets the most results for you. And, you know, and go with it that way. And Instagram, I think, definitely has a place for each business. You just have to figure out what place that's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think there'll ever be a place for businesses like yours and mine on Instagram as far as having that ability to have sales, like the shop and, you know, shoppable tags and that? Because at the moment, you've got to have a tangible product, don't you? You can't do intangible
No
products
digital
like
products.
like what you and I would
Yeah.
sell. So do you think that they'll move the platform that way at all?
Yeah, 100%. They'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Mark Zuckerberg's a businessman. He's there to make money. And with all the digital product creators out there at the moment, to not allow them to utilize that part of the platform, you know, it would be really quite silly because, you know, if you look at shops, there is going to be a fee associated with that, right? So at the moment, all these other platforms that help us provide our digital products are reaping all the benefits for that. And if you look at all the Facebook ads for digital products and, you know, courses and all those things that you find on Facebook these days, I 100% think it will come. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. So, Mark, if you're listening to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, Stacey and I are waiting.
Well, look, you know, all you have to do is mention something in your house and then Facebook hears it. So it could happen.
It could. I'll continue to say that in front of my Google and all of that sort of things. So, Seth, what are the trends with hashtags, or how do people use hashtags these days? I think it's one of those things that people get really confused with on Instagram, not really looking into the hashtags they're using. Quite often I come across, you know, I'll do a bit of a diagnostic on someone's Instagram, and I'll find that all the hashtags they're using have got like 1.2 million and up posts against them. Chances of you coming up, fairly minimal. Cool days if you can. But, you know, what is the thing with hashtags? What's one of the best ways that you could think of that people could use hashtags?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I'll say is that your success on the platform is not dependent on hashtags.
Yep.
Hashtags are a feature or a tool to get seen more with. The way to be successful on the platform is to engage your audience and ultimately, you know, get them off Instagram and into your funnel. But the way hashtags work, and I think a lot of the confusion comes from people just don't understand how tags work. And what they are is hashtags have their own feed. So people can follow a tag. So if you're using a hashtag and you use it on a post, it can then show up in that hashtag feed, which then allows more people to find you, engage with you, and follow you. Now, if you look at the algorithm from an overall perspective, the algorithm's designed to show us more content of what we already engage with. So, and it shows your content to more people like the people who engage with you already. So if by using hashtags, you're putting yourself into like basically a massive big lottery pool to show up in other people's feeds, attract the right people. Like, you've got to have the right strategy there to attract the right people. But then if those people are following you and engaging with you, then the algorithm naturally is going to show you to more people like that. So it just increases your chances of finding people. I think the biggest things I see people do wrong with tags is either not using them or not using all of them. And you can use 30. I would 100% recommend using every single one of those 30 hashtags. It's, you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that say 29 hashtags is the right number.
Oh, I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah,
There you go.
I have, or 11 hashtags is the right number, and it should be in your caption, it should be, or in your first comment. Like, ultimately, it doesn't matter where they are. They're still going to work the same way. It just looks better aesthetically if it's in the first comment. And if you post through to Facebook, it's better as well, because Facebook doesn't use hashtags.
Yeah, so I just want to really, I guess, hone in on that point for just a second or two. I have a lot of people that, you know, have come to me in recent times and said, so a hashtag's now really important on Facebook because everybody's using them. And I think the trend is more that they're pushing content from Instagram to Facebook. And that's why we're seeing a lot more people's hashtags on Facebook, is because the content has just come directly from Instagram. Not necessarily that hashtags are becoming a thing on Facebook. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. The interesting thing is that you can actually search a hashtag on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, you can 100% search it just the same as you do on Instagram. The reason why hashtags don't work, it used to be that the algorithm wouldn't like it, but now it's actually more user-led. Because you can search for a tag. You can type a hashtag into the search bar on Instagram and search for content with that tag, but the Facebook user doesn't use tags. So if you're pushing content through from Instagram to Facebook, it looks like your Facebook content's an afterthought, and then people scroll on by. So that's really the biggest one. Like, Facebook doesn't penalize you as much for stuff like that as it used to. So I always say, aesthetically, pop it in the first comment, because then you don't have to worry about that happening.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Now, Instagram stories. Now, I have to say that as much as Instagram doesn't excite me, I am a bit of a story lover. I watch them, and I love to watch people's stories. And if I'm spending time on Instagram, I find myself spending a lot more time in stories than in feeds. But I also love what you can do with them. Are they where the eyeballs are on Instagram at the moment?
Oh, 100%. Stories are where it's at. And, you know, I will hand on heart say, like, as a busy business owner who's a mom, who's juggling all the things, it can be, it's work to keep up your Instagram stories. They only last for 24 hours. You know, it can seem like it's just that extra thing that you have to keep doing. But here's the thing with stories. They're placed at the very top of the Instagram fold. Like, when you jump on the app, it's the first thing you see because it's at the very top. So the thing with stories is it's quickly evolving content that's current, it's recent. And when people jump onto the platform, because a lot of people are doing more long form posts, not so much quick little posts and stuff, not everyone wants to read a long post. And if you've only got, you've got to remember, if you look at the way people use their mobile phone, people aren't necessarily on there to read a long post, but they've got 5 minutes while they're waiting in the queue at the supermarket. So they'll pull it up and look at a few stories. So it allows you also to expand more on what's in your feed, because really you don't really need to post more than once a day, right? So, but if you've got more to say on something, then you can do that in your stories. You can share other people's content and do some collaborative stuff in stories. And interestingly, stories are becoming really big for lead generation, which is quite interesting. But that's because ultimately your stories lead to a DM. So if you can use them effectively to get someone into a DM with you, and then have a good DM strategy to have a conversation with them, they're becoming really useful for lead gen in that kind of human to human way, because you've got to actually talk to the person first before, you know, if you're just going to drop a link and run or whatever, you're still not going to get great results. You've got to have good DM strategy to back that up. But 100% stories are where it's at. I think you can overkill them. Like when I go into someone's stories feed and they've got 55 stories and I see those little 55 dots at the top of the thing and it's 55 like frames of them speaking, I'm like, I don't have time to listen to you talk for that long. Yeah. So I think you need to balance it out as well with, you know, it's a space for short content. So if you're going to speak, don't speak for 50 frames. Try and keep it to maybe 5 or 10, you know, and think about what you're doing. Where do you want your stories to go? One of the other big mistakes I see people do is they just share pictures of their kids or stuff that the cat's doing. And don't get me wrong, I do that too, because it's a great place for, you know, personal branding and showing that kind of behind the scenes of your life. But, you know, think about what's going on in your business and what are you maybe promoting at the time. Like, you know, I've got a launch going on at the moment, so I'm jumping into my stories, giving tips away that relate to the current program that I'm doing. And I'll use some of the, you know, the polls. They're a great way to get engagement on your stories, the DM sticker, the question sticker, and I'll pop those onto the stories and really generate some engagement from those stories that then leads to a conversation. And a perfect example was I did a story sequence and I was promoting my webinar, which then led into my program. And I put the DM sticker on one of them and a girl DM'd me and said, can I get the link for that? Sent her the link, jumped on the webinar. Now she's in my program. So, and we'd never connected before at all on the platform. So
that kind of throws
100%.
That throws out the theory of, you know, needing, you know, you need 16 touch points before they'll buy from you and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, yep, you've just thrown that completely out.
That's definitely the exception to the rule. But I think it shows that if you're showing up there, and that was just me talking like a selfie to the screen. Like if you're showing up there for your audience and giving good value that they want to hear, that they will engage with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having a DM strategy is really important. It's something that I'm finding I'm working more and more on inside my business at the moment. Although, again, Mark Zuckerberg, if you're listening, I'd really like an app where they all funnel. So my Facebook group DMs, my Facebook page DMs, my Instagram DMs, my LinkedIn DMs, they're all coming, and I would just like a little app that could funnel them all, because, you know, sometimes you lose track of where you were having a conversation with someone.
Oh, 100%. But I will give you a hot tip. In the back end of your Facebook business page, if you go into your inbox, you can actually, if your Instagram page is linked, you can view your Instagram and Facebook DMs on the same. I'm a desktop girl, so
yeah. I can actually, and I know that. So why haven't I thought about that a bit more strategically? Yes, I did know that, because it, you know, when someone leaves a thing on Instagram, it comes up like 3 times on my phone, because, you know, it's sending an alert across to Facebook as well. So, but that's a good reminder. Yeah. Thank you.
And I guess the last thing about stories I would say is that it's a place where you can share a lot of content that will direct people back to your feed. So you can share your posts, you can share your Instagram TV videos, you can actually share your IGTV videos with a swipe up link. And interestingly, IGTV is the only place on Instagram that you can put a clickable URL link that goes off platform. So anywhere else on Instagram, that can only be in your website URL. So a lot of people don't realize that you can utilize IGTV to get that swipe up, particularly if you've got less than 10,000 followers, which, you know, a lot of people don't have 10,000 followers.
Yes, we do. We do. So just staying on stories just for a sec, highlights, yes or no? Because highlights is where you can make a story live for longer than 24 hours by saving it into your highlights. Do you find that people are using highlights, as in from a user experiences point of view?
I find they're underutilized, and I'll hand on at heart say that's probably the one part of my Instagram myself that I underutilize as well. mainly because I find what people do is they set and forget, and then forget to go in and edit them and update them as time goes on. What's really working well with highlights is when you've got something happening, creating a new highlight reel for that one thing that's going on at the moment. So if you've got an e-commerce store and you've got a sale or a new product range or something, create a highlight that's at the beginning, so before all the other ones, and share that over that time. So I'm doing that with my new course launch, and that's something that people are really engaging with. And if the good thing about that is if you're, in the content while you've got that, that promo or that launch or whatever's happening, you can refer people back to that highlight. Check out my stories in this highlight reel.
And the highlight reel comes with its own URL, doesn't it? That you could actually take that and send it to someone, like, put it through an email, check out my highlight reel here, or put it over to Facebook with a link. Is that right, or am I imagining that?
Now, well, I'm going to come unstuck here because I don't think so. But in saying that, though, things change so much on the platforms all the time that is entirely possible that could happen. So I'll definitely get back to you on that one.
Beautiful. Sorry to throw you under the bus there.
Oh, look, hand on heart, and I think you would know this too, Jen, is that even though you're an expert on a platform, I mean, you love your LinkedIn and Facebook and everything, is that they change so often. And, we don't have a direct line to Mark Zuckerberg to find out exactly when it's happening. So sometimes you don't find out about the updates until you see it yourself, and then you've got to do a bit of investigating.
Yeah, absolutely. And that takes time, and that's why, we like chatting with other people to see what they're doing and what they're not doing. So you mentioned IGTV before, which is Instagram's YouTube kind of thing. Like that was why it was invented, to try and, compete with YouTube. Is it worth it? Is it getting the eyeballs? Like, if people wanting to do long form video, because that's its purpose, because feeds 60 seconds, stories are 15 seconds, so it's for long form video. Is it getting eyeballs? Is it getting algorithm?
Oh, 100%. And if you'd asked me this when it first was launched, I would have said that's a flop. Like when Instagram launched IGTV, they kind of just went, here it is, and everyone just went, this is just what I don't need to do any more work. Because they put it in a separate channel. It was kind of hard to navigate to, and people didn't really get what they were supposed to be doing with it. It was kind of like they were trying to emulate YouTube, but we already had YouTube, so why bother? But when they made the change to put IGTV directly in the feed, and in that it has its own feed on your page. So if you've got IGTV videos now, on top of your feed fold, you've got like your grid, your channel, and then your tagged post. So it's really easy for people to find your videos, plus you can put them in your feed. And I was kind of around the time that they did that I thought, this is going to play a much bigger part than we all probably thought it would have in the beginning. They've put some big changes into IGTV, and I think it was a smart move, really, because it's somewhere where you can have up to 60 minutes worth of video, so you can share more stuff. I think you still need to have a good video strategy though, right? Because if you're just going to jump on and share something and people aren't prepared for it, then that kind of 5 to 10 minutes is pretty much people's attention span. So if you're going to share a long form video, build some suspense with it, or at least direct traffic back to it with your stories. The other thing you can do now with IGTV, and you can do it with Facebook video too, is add your videos to a series, is what it's called on IGTV. So you can create a whole bunch of topics that you would normally do videos around, and then when people watch that video, Instagram will show them the next video in that series. On Facebook, it's a playlist. So that's very YouTube-esque, that sort of feature, being able to do that. But I think the great thing about IGTV is you can put a swipe up link to it in your stories. So if you've got some good video content, definitely be sharing it. And the good thing with stories is it's current. So if you're sharing something in your stories today, but you did an IGTV video about it 3 months ago, you can put a link to that video and people can keep watching and learning or listening or seeing more about that. And, I kind of I kind of sit back and I think, that's keeping people on your profile. And I think the longer people stay on your profile, the more content they look at, the higher you rank on their algorithm. So it's definitely got a huge part. And then more recently, live streams don't live in the stories feed anymore. You can either go live and it's just live, doesn't get saved anywhere, or you then share it to IGTV.
Ah, there you go. That means it's been a little while since I went live on Instagram, clearly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think the only thing I would add to that is, and I say this too when I talk about features like Facebook Premiere and, all those kind of webinar style features you get on Facebook these days, is just be mindful of ultimately what you want your audience to do. Like, these features are amazing and they're really good to, get people following you and engaging with you. But ultimately, if you were to run like a 30-minute live coaching, do you want to maybe collect email addresses for that and host that somewhere else? Or do you really want to put that on IGTV? Or would you maybe use that as a repurposing tool? So maybe you've done a free training where you've collected your email addresses beforehand, crop it down to a 10-minute video, share a snapshot of it on IGTV, and then maybe direct them to go and view the whole thing by still doing that email opt-in. So I guess what I'm saying, don't put all your eggs in the one basket. Like, ultimately think about what you want people to do and make sure you're using it strategically for yourself as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I talk about, don't put all your eggs in the Mark Zuckerberg basket. Like, we need different baskets.
Yeah. And I listened to your podcast on the Facebook shops because when it first came out, I was like, oh, I'm a bit dubious about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if other people think the same thing. And I went and listened to your podcast, and you had the same sort of opinion as me, is, we need to kind of wait and see how it rolls out here. But, is this going to be keeping all your eggs in the one basket?
Yeah, because I'm all about being an early adopter. Like, I think the people who have been early adopters to platforms have been really successful on platforms. But I also think that there needs to be strategy behind it. Like, I am so in love with TikTok at the moment. It's just not funny. But strategically, from a business point of view, I don't see it yet. So I'm not an early adopter business-wise, but oh my God, I get sucked in with all those dances. The song's still in my head, I hear the song all the time, that, those dances that they do. Anyway, love TikTok, but, strategically from a business point of view, I can't, I don't really see the strategy, but B, I don't want to see it. I'm already busy.
Oh, I will 100% hands down say I am going to miss out on the boat because I just don't get it. My kids use it. It annoys the crap out of me because all I hear is those little sound bites of those songs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I say to myself, you need to be more open-minded, Stacey, and see how maybe this could work. And, so at least I don't want to be an expert in it, but I could talk to a client about it. But every time I get on there, I just go, no. And I end up being a feature in my kids' TikTok. So I think I'm going to miss the boat on that platform because I just don't get it.
We'll check back in 12 months' time and see how where we're both looking. So a couple of really quick rapid fire questions for you that I know that I hear a lot, not necessarily from my clients, but, in the spaces of social media. With Instagram, pay for followers, yes or no?
Pay for followers? No way. The only way I would suggest to pay for followers is to run strategic ads, and, run ads that are specifically targeted to your target market to get them to do something, and then they would follow you from that. But 100% do not buy followers. It is the worst thing you can possibly do because you've got no guarantee those people are actually your ideal client and will ever buy from you. And then you end up with, 10,000 followers with 200 people that actually maybe might be your ideal client. And it just ends up diluting your analytics. And you end up some people end up having to go start from scratch again after doing something like that. And that's just not where you want to be. 100%.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Bots, yes or no? Having a bot, like, I know when I use that question sticker on my Instagram stories, those bots drive me insane. It's like, go away. Whoever buys from you from a bot. But do bots have a place with, in DMs or in Instagram at all?
So the bots are a funny thing, right? Because they used to be on the feed so much, and now that Instagram's done such a good job about getting them out of their feed, they kind of live in the stories and annoy you in those stickers, and it's so frustrating. And I do find that bots still follow some of those big, large string hashtags as well. So that if we go back to the hashtags, if you're using large string hashtags, you're going to find you get a lot of bot activity on your account. You're better off to keep your tags 100 to 300,000, 500 max. And even some of those really strategic small hashtags that might only have like 1,000 uses can sometimes be really good. Like if you're part of a networking group and they have a hashtag and everyone in that networking group uses that tag, you're getting yourself in front of those people, right? So there's a lot of use for the smaller ones as well. But bots, look, there's a couple of things as far as I'll say with bots is I think that bots have a place. I think automation has a place, but you need to set your automation up in a human way. So if it sounds like a robot, people are not going to engage with you. And that's really what it comes down to. Now, inside of your Instagram, the back end of your Instagram, you can set up some quick replies, which are basically just like if you say someone comments on or goes and likes 10 of your posts or something and does a couple of comments and you want to say, hey, thanks for dropping by, nice to meet you, what do you do, or engage them with them in whatever way that is appropriate for your business. It comes back again to DM strategy. You can set up some good quick replies. Again, that's manual implementation. As far as automatic bots, like I definitely think they have a place, but you need to really talk to a specialist in that area who actually values that automated process being humanized. A lot of the platforms that you can go and log into and sign up for that will set up that automated kind of bot-like DMs, they're just platforms there to just take your money and set up bot-like DMs. They're not there to humanize your marketing. Whereas there's a lot of really good experts out there that will specialize in automated chatbots that will help you do it in a really strategic way. So I guess the answer is, the tacky ones, no, get rid of them, do not bother. If you want to invest in that sort of automation, then, definitely speak to an expert. Or if you want to manually do some, the quick replies are a really great way to do that.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to look into quick replies. I don't actually have those set up. So, and when you've said that, now I've gone, I reckon I got one of those just the other day. But anyway, I'll have to have a look in that. Last question, scheduling, yes or no? So using third-party scheduling apps to schedule into Instagram. I know in the back of Facebook there is... the name has completely gone out of my head. What's the name of the
Creator Studio?
That you can do some scheduling. But as far as third-party apps, yes or no?
Yeah. So look, it's going to come down to, I think most of the time, what do you want that tool to do? And I always say, if you need to schedule content to be more consistent, then I would schedule it 110%. If lack of scheduling means lack of consistency, then 100% schedule your content. Personally, I still use a third-party scheduling tool for the main reason that it gives me Instagram-specific features that I can't get on Creator Studio yet. However, I will say Creator Studio is improving in their features month by month. And ultimately, I think they want to prevent people from using third-party apps. Yeah. Because they're missing out on a shitload of money. Yeah. Because they cost money, those third-party apps. But Creator Studio won't let you plan your feed. It won't allow you to save hashtag groups. So if you're going to do it manually, there's always going to be some manual work you have to do. Like, where are you going to save your hashtags and how are you going to put them in? So if it's easier for you to schedule and be able to have all of that automated, then do it. 110% do it. The platforms don't penalize you as much as they used to, or even at all, for using a third-party scheduler. The only thing with Instagram, if you do use the likes of, like, I use Planoly, but if you use like Planoly or Later or any of the ones that do auto posting, you just have to have a business account, because those third-party apps don't work with the Instagram API if it's not a business account.
Yeah, okay. And I think it might have been you, Stacey, that a couple of weeks ago was telling me, though, if you spend time on Instagram before and after you post, that you are getting more Instagram algorithm, that, you know, the longer you stay on the platform during the process of posting, the, you know, the more likely your post is to be sent out to people. Did I imagine that?
No, this, I didn't say that. Now that's it's a really interesting topic, because I have some people that say you should stay on platform for 20 minutes after you post and engage. And I just think that if you're going to look at a strategy that's going to be like easy to implement long term, are you going to be available to like stay on platform for 20 minutes after every single time you post? And if you're posting, you should be posting at specific times that are right for your audience and showing content to them at times that are appropriate. Now, sometimes it can take a little bit of time to actually get engagement on your posts as well. So look, I think if you're able to be around and be engaging when your post goes out, yeah, sure. You're probably going to show up in their feed more relevantly if you're engaging with someone around the same time that your content goes out. However, if that's not achievable for you, and maybe you've got a part-time job as well as a business that you're running, I just say at least set aside 20 minutes a day to get onto the platform and engage with people that commented on your posts. First of all, don't let a comment go by. I mean, unless you've got 1,000 comments, but most people don't have that. So engage with people that are engaging with you, engage with people you follow, and engage with people that are in your target market. And obviously your DMs, make sure that you're replying to your DMs and working on that strategy. And you can do that easily in 20 minutes. If it's straight after when you post, maybe you might get seen a little bit more, but it's also got to work. It's got to be an achievable process for you to do every day as well. Yeah, you've got to balance it out there.
Yeah, because, you know, and I guess that's, you know, I love what you said about scheduling, because for me, I post natively to Instagram. I don't do it so much on other platforms, but on Instagram I do, just because of the scheduling app that I have. But done is better than nothing. So if you have to
100%.
schedule, because that's the time you've got on a Sunday night to spend, you know, setting up 3 or 4 posts for the week, then that's better than getting to Friday and going, oh my God, I didn't do it again.
And this is what I mean. And I get really frustrated sometimes when I hear a lot of these things like that whole, you need to be on platform for 20 minutes after you posted and those sort of things. Look, it would work. Like if you're engaging when a post has gone out, then your post is going to show up in their feed. 110% that's going to work. But if you aren't able to do that, like physically, if you've got clients and a business that you're running, or children, or all these other things going on, and you're putting that pressure on yourself, you're just not going to do it. And then that ends up in inaction, which is lack of consistency. And then you start to think the platform doesn't work. So I would much rather see anyone, or any of you out there listening, have a strategy, find the process to action that strategy that works for you, your business, and your lifestyle, that will help you be more consistent. Because if you can do it week in, week out, month in, month out, you're going to see better results long term than stressing yourself out to have to do these little things that you'll hear around the traps of how to boost your engagement. At the end of the day, there's no silver bullet to Instagram success.
What? Come on!
Consistency. I know. If there was, I would have found out by now. I can assure you of that.
Oh, that's so disappointing, Stacey.
Yeah, I know.
Oh dear. No. This has been great. Your wisdom is just amazing. You know, and again, on a platform that I'm on but don't have that real love for like you do, it's been really great to chat to someone else who's using the platform well, but also sort of understands the platform. So my audience, I'm sure, is going to be extremely thankful for all your wisdom today, Stace. Look, how can people stay in touch with you? What's the best way for them to get in touch? If you've said something on the podcast that they'd like to chat to you about, or whether they just want to follow you on Instagram.
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram at the Social Hub. So that's at the _social_hub. Just follow me, hit me up in a DM. I'm always on the gram. If you're a Facebook user, you can also find me at the Social Hub on Facebook, or if you love Facebook groups, my Facebook group is the Social Media 101 Society. If you type it in, it'll come up. The actual name is Social Media 101, the Social Hub. So you can jump in there and find me in there, or jump over and listen to my podcast. So the Social Hub podcast, I've got lots of Instagram episodes on there too, as well as lots of other episodes about other things as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch up again really soon.
Thank you, Jen.
I really hope you enjoyed that episode with Stacey. She's a really top Instagram chick, and I'm so lucky to have someone like that in my world that I can turn to with any questions that I might have, and also to have the ability to share experts like that with you as well. I'd love to know what you learned from her. What did you learn from Stacey? Of course, my hope is that you learnt 3 things: to show up, to do the best you can on Instagram, and to share good content that's of interest to your potential buyers at the end of the day. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, it sort of is simple, but it is 100% a fair bit of work. But I guess the lesson is that marketing isn't really all that different no matter where you hang out. H to H, human to human marketing, conversational marketing. This is how we manage to get in front of our audience on these platforms, online or offline. Of course, that's it for episode 86. If you'd like to tell me what you learned from the lesson, head into the Like-Minded Business Owners group and tell me. Or, of course, send me an email at jen@jendonovan.com.au. As I mentioned at the start of this episode was sponsored by my 30-day social media and marketing challenge. The waitlist is still open. It's at bit.ly/Jen's waitlist. I will, of course, be back next Thursday for another great episode to help you simplify your business in 2020. If you're enjoying the podcast, and hopefully you are because you've listened this far, I would really love you to hit that subscribe button and maybe share with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind, who would really appreciate someone else making their life a little bit simpler. And if you have time to leave a rating and a review, then I would really love that as well. But until next week for episode 87, let's hang out and get social on social. You'll find me at Instagram, Facebook, and of course, LinkedIn. But whatever you do, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there's no point in dreaming small.
Say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.